Welcome back to BusinessAir TV. I'm Preston Holland. I'm joined by CEO of Wisk, Gary Gysin, here at MBAA in Orlando, Florida. Gary, thanks for coming on.
Sure.
So, Gary, I want to talk about eVTOL and commercialization specifically.
Sure.
There's a lot of capital that's gone into this space, and there's announcements indicating commercial activity, but it's often future promises
Sure.
and future booked revenue. When do you think that we are finally going to actually start transacting in this market at scale?
Yeah, well, at scale. I'll answer the first part, when, and then at scale is a different thing. So there's some companies that have said 2024. I think that's a little sporty. I think you'll see the first piloted eVTOLs in 2025. That's my guess. And it'll start very defined, very specific routes in certain cities, before it starts to expand. I think part of the thing, and this gets to the commercialization, is, how accessible is it? What does it cost? Right? And so, and how do you get to true scale? What problem are you solving where? And is it a big enough problem where you've got a lot of demand for that route or multiple routes? And then, but how do you get to a mass market and really have this thing scale? And I think that's a little bit further down the road. I mean, we're taking a little different approach. We're going straight to self-flying. So there's no pilot in the cockpit, there's no controls, the pilots are on the ground.
So Wisk is not having the conversation that everybody across the country is having right now with how are we going to staff these aircraft with more pilots?
We are not. We do not have that problem at all. And in fact, it's an awesome one, but it's also, it's job growth. So you'll get, pilot unions and others that will say, oh geez, you're going to take our jobs. No, we won't. These are short hop, 10 to 20 minute flights. And the type of people that will be supervising our flights are like drone operators, air traffic control type people. You don't have to actually be a certified pilot to manage our fleet. And so it's also a job creation capability. But back to, the reason we're going self-flying, one of the reasons, safety is a big one, but the second one is price point. If we don't have a pilot, you don't have the pilot training costs, you don't have everything else, you're not taking a revenue seat out of the aircraft. Our operating costs are lower, and we're all electric, so operating costs are lower. Our target is to charge $3 per passenger mile. And so if you do the math on that, that's like taking an Uber X. Not an Uber Black, an Uber X. And so...
And compare that to a fuel-powered helicopter right now in New York City.
Oh, God.
What's a passenger mile cost right now?
10 to 15.
Okay, so we're talking significantly lower.
Oh yeah,
so
dramatic difference.
Actually making it accessible for the college kid, not necessarily the C-suite executive that flies helicopters.
Right, that's the whole thing, because the helicopter market is a very small and narrow market. It's a very premium service. That is absolutely not what we want to do, and it's why we're going straight to the self-flying stage. And so when does that scale? Our modeling, our business plan, by 2035, we think we will have moved 300 million passengers. So if you put that in context to just general and commercial aviation, it's orders of magnitude change.
So when you think about moving people at scale, you have to get public adoption.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've ever been in a small airplane or brought, even more interesting, brought a family member or relative into a small airplane, it's a tense experience.
Yep.
What about public sentiment? What are you guys doing to try? What are you guys thinking about as far as actual public adoption? Because you can put it in front of them, you can make it affordable, and frankly, there's so much venture capital that you can subsidize the actual transaction cost for a long time while people get comfortable
for a period
with
of time. But you have to run a business.
Right.
You have to do something that makes money eventually.
Right.
Yeah. So we've been through, we've traveled around to different cities. We've had 650 people go through and actually sit in our cabin, tell us what they like about, tell us what they wanted in terms of comfort. So especially with us, without having a pilot, 93% of all commercial aviation pilot functions are already automated. It's already automated, so it's the comfort of having somebody there they can talk to. Great. So we've got a screen for every seat, and it's 4-seat. You can hit, I want to talk to somebody now, talk to them directly on your headphones. There's a help button. if the cabin wants to talk, hey, what's happening? The screen tells you your flight route, how long is left in your flight, when you're going to bank, all those kind of things, so that we're creating this environment, and it's roomy. So it's not like some of the general aviation aircrafts that are super tight. And I think that makes a whole difference, in addition to educating why this is safer. Why is this going to be the safest form of aviation?
So for those in our audience that are pilots, very familiar with the FAA,
Sure.
very familiar with all the good things that they do and all of the roadblocks that they
Sure.
tend to put up. What are you seeing right now from a regulatory standpoint? We're approaching a lot of interesting things happening in the next 18 months. What are you seeing from a regulatory standpoint that excites you, and maybe some things that might make you a little nervous?
So what excites me is, I think, from Administrator Nolan, Billy Nolan on down, they have a vision of pushing this forward, advancing this agenda, making it happen, resourcing it. And so he's got the right mindset, and I think his team has the right mindset to embrace this. I mean, technology changes happen fast, and things get disrupted. You think of the Tesla Roadster introduced in 2008, and every major automobile manufacturer is building an electric vehicle now, 14 years later. Uber ride-sharing started in 2010. 12 years later, it's no big deal to book your ride on your phone. Who would have thought, back in the day? So this technology, back to your earlier point, billions of dollars that are going into this industry, this is happening. This is absolutely happening. Now, the challenge, the frustrating part is we're getting outspent in this area by China and Europe. They're spending more money on AAM than the US is. And so the dialogue we're having with Congress, the dialogue we're having with the administrator and his team is, how do we change that game? Because we can't be underspending the rest of the folks that are doing AAM.
So right now, America is not in the dominant position in the AAM market.
Correct.
How do you think that gets solved?
Funding. I think it starts with Congress. And we've got a reauthorization bill coming up in 23, and that's the start of it. But and also setting a target. So we talked about some dates earlier, but 2024 or 2025 or whatever. But what's the actual real target where we think this is really going to go? And then let's work backwards from that and figure out what are all the things that we need to do to demonstrate to the FAA the safety of these vehicles and operations. And so that's a conversation I just came from.
Very cool. Let's shift gears for our final topic, consolidation.
Mm-hmm.
This market will have to see consolidation at
Yep.
some point to really reach viability. If you had a crystal ball, one, when do you think consolidation happens? And two, how many major players do you think actually come out from all of this?
It's a great question. So people have different numbers in terms of the total number of people that are in this space, 200, 300, 400. It's absolutely crazy. It takes several $1 billion it takes to launch a new aircraft, whether it's piloted or unpiloted.
And then after the billions of dollars, you still have to build the thing, and you
Sure.
actually have to exercise the manufacturing muscle.
And then
after
you
that.
have to make some money so you can keep going, all that, right? You need the right team, you need to build the right thing, you need to get it certified, you need to be able to produce it, and you need to be able to make a business out of it. So there is going to be, this is like the early days of the auto industry. There are going to be a lot of people that don't make it. Our forecast is 4 to 5 people that are here today, very, very credible players, have teams, have great backing, financial backing, et cetera, and are building the right thing. 4 or 5 of those will survive. There's going to be a lot of carnage. There are going to be a lot of companies that don't make it. And so it's already started. So there are some companies that have already closed operations.
Is there opportunity when those companies start to wind down? Does it make more sense to go pick up the pieces afterwards, or does it make sense to buy them before they hit the bottom for you as a CEO?
Yeah, so I think it's a third option, which is neither the first two and the people. So we're scaling like crazy. And in this market, which is kind of interesting, everybody has a little bit different configuration. And
they
so,
all look similar. It's all cousins of some sort.
Yeah. But they're different.
Right.
And different approaches to it and all that. So do you need the IP from that? Maybe there's something. Do you want to buy them outright? Probably not. But do you want the awesome aerospace engineering talent? Absolutely.
Well, this has been a really great conversation around business and the actual business of eVTOL. Thanks so much for coming on. Do you have any other announcements or anything that you'd like to share with us before
no other
anybody
announcements
else
today. There's more stuff coming, but not today.
That's true. All right, well, I appreciate it, Gary.
All right,
Thanks for
Preston.
coming on. We'll be right back.